I've got two questions for you because you said something really interesting. Yeah, sorry to cut you, but you said something really interesting, and I don't want to lose the point. You said that they are being treated as black boys, and black, in a sense, means ghetto or not desirable, etc., etc. So the comments that brother Abu Ibrahim made, and of course, I don't want to make it about the brother. Is that something that rings a bell with you? Is that something that you think, subhanAllah, is something that, in a sense, people are not taught? I don't think that's the right word, but an image or perception that they're given from young. Is that something that you feel, in a sense?
Do you remember when there were those riots in London, and they were
Yeah, I
breaking into
remember.
shops? The violence in North London, it led to those riots across London. And that historian, I can't even watch him and take him seriously now because of what he said, but that I can't even remember his name. But that historian, white English professor, is huge. A historian went on TV and he said, the whites have become black. What did he mean by that? He meant the whites have become ghetto, have become sub-working class, have become violent, have become without morals, have become unruly, have become rebellious, have become all these things, as if that identifies black culture. And this is a very, very dangerous thing that we see happening in the UK. If you remember, there was a time when you hardly ever saw black people on TV. Maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you hardly ever saw black people on TV. Then somebody realized that, no, there's money to be made out of black people. There's money to be made out of portraying ghetto culture. There's money to be made out of portraying those boys, those bad men, those road men, etc. in the estates, and the drugs and the gangs and the violence. There's money to be made here. And so you start seeing movies coming out. You start seeing film series coming out, and you start seeing certain artists being, musical artists being promoted and put on the mainstream stage. And what that did was give everybody this image of black culture as a ghetto, violent, gang-based culture that is all about, hip-hop and grime, and it kind of gets all mixed in there. So on one level, I don't blame people, because the whole society was treated to this version of black identity. And within the black community, it's something that we needed to resist more. We shouldn't have been so seduced by the fact that, they want to produce another film about us. We should have been a lot more, selective about the stories that we allowed to be told about ourselves. But hey, it is what it is. The point is that Muslims and non-Muslims are being spoon-fed a version of black identity that is a small part of the demographic. It does not look at the intellectual tradition. It doesn't look at the history. It doesn't look at the true art. It doesn't look at the values. It doesn't look at the language. It does not celebrate black culture at all. In fact, it objectifies black culture and allows it to be sold and commodified. And that's what's happening. And so Muslims are also experiencing this, because the kids in my boys' school, when they want to be down and they want to be cool, who do they talk like? They say wagwan.
That's right.
What's up, bro? What's popping, and all of this stuff, because in their minds, that's cool. That whole roadman mentality, that is true. It is inspired by a certain aspect of black culture. But trust me when I say those boys can do it better than anyone else. And for anyone to come out and say acting like a gangster is black, you go to Whitechapel and check out those gangster boys there, those Bengali boys. You go to Rotherham, yeah? You go to Ravensthorpe, you go to Dewsbury, you go to Bradford and check out those little boys there who are selling drugs, who are packing knives, who are, robbing and doing all these illegal things. They've got their own ghetto culture, which has got nothing to do with blackness. I don't even know any black people. That's their own thing. So we need to be careful to not say that, oh, all of that stuff is from outside. It's those dirty black people or those dirty white people. Our culture doesn't have anything like that. We've got it in our cultures as well. Somali boys too.
But you see, that's an interesting thing that you're saying, because a lot of the elder generation, like I've seen this myself from our aunties and uncles, this is that we have in our culture, and our children have learned this, for example, from a certain community, maybe the black community or so on and so forth. But if we look back home, for example, we do have drug dealers in Pakistan. We have a massive drugs trade, and we do have all of these gangs and violence and corruption and so on and so forth. So to say that this is something that is attributed to a certain community, I mean, of course, is definitely unfair. I think what you're saying about media being a major part of it, of course, is definitely something that has a major part to play